Hi, I'm Tim Miles. This show is all about the Cornhusker community giving back and making a difference on campus and around the world. This is BTN. Live big, go big red.
We are our brain. Traumatic brain injury is a very serious ailment. As our soldiers, men and women, come back from the field, they are now assimilated into the society and they are not even aware that they have been injured. And this is the real problem.
A real problem that Dr. Nama Chandra is determined to solve. Working at the Trauma Mechanics Laboratory at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, Chandra strives to protect soldiers' brains from direct impacts and the shockwaves associated with explosions.
The protective capacity of the helmets is not actually known when it comes to shockwaves. The helmets are primarily designed for blunt impacts and for ballistics.
Our idea is to replicate field blasts and understand how brain TBI, traumatic brain injury, is caused. We know the injury takes place, but we want to know what is the true cause of injury. What does it take to make a better helmet from the blast perspective? We hope by doing these experiments, we will be able to come up with specification and hence better materials, geometry, and better helmets for the next generation of soldiers.
We can produce the same type of shockwave that would be emanated from C4 observed at a distance of 25 feet away. That would incapacitate or kill just about anybody who is exposed to that.
The shock waves that are generated during explosions are very complex. When a shock encounters a human being, it very quickly passes by your head, penetrates into the brain, and affects the brain. It is manifested in the short term in terms of memory loss, in terms of functionalities, in terms of lack of behavior, and also we know it may have a long-term effect on Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, ALS, and many other neurodegenerative diseases.
There is definitely a reduction in quality of life. You're not the same person anymore, and it's unfair.
Dr. Chandra's team hopes to develop a helmet that will reduce the damage caused by shockwaves. They also envision creating sensors to alert soldiers when they may have experienced a mild brain injury that could have lasting effects.
Our goal is to save lives, and our goal is to engineer better quality of life by saving soldiers and preventing brain injuries. Soldiers give their lives to save us, and we need to give our lives to save them.
Still to come on BTN Live Big Nebraska, men's head basketball coach Tim Miles opens up.
I want to be one of those guys that competes at the highest level of my profession and can make a positive impact, not only for our student athletes, but everybody that we deal with.
We'll also check in with Cornhusker greats Tommy Frazier and Tom Osborne. But up next, one Nebraska professor isn't just standing up to bullies, she's helping them too.
How do we work with these kids to help them see? I can have goals, I can have aspirations.
That and more when BTN Live Big Nebraska continues. Across the country, in hallways, on playgrounds, and even in classrooms, bullying is becoming an epidemic.
Thousands of kids deal with it every day in school, so it's something that affects their mental health, it affects their grades in school, it affects their attendance in school, so whenever it does occur, it can be very damaging.
Researchers at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln led by school psychology professor Susan Swearer, are changing the paradigm on dealing with bullies.
One of the projects that we have here is the Target Bullying Intervention Program, which is a program designed to work one-on-one with kids who are bullying other kids and to teach them alternative ways of interacting. These are the kids who are in trouble. Kids who are aggressive, when you put them in a group intervention, they kind of learn from each other how to kind of be more aggressive. And so the idea then is to work with them individually. We try to make it a very solution-oriented, positive experience.
Anytime something disrupts the learning environment of students, we're concerned about that. We need another alternative, something different than just in-school suspension or out-of-school suspension.
So low self-esteem can be very common for victims.
In our society, if somebody is mean or somebody acts up or somebody's aggressive, well then you lock them away or you kick them out. And I think that that's such a short-sighted position. We know that zero-tolerance policies and procedures are ineffective. And so if we can't keep these kids in school, then they're going to get further behind in their academics. I mean, we end up all losing as a society.
We're not interested in the punishment aspect. We're interested in trying to help kids learn and get them to realize that hurtful behavior is just not acceptable.
We're going to go back and talk about some of the different types of bullying too, and try to put these different examples into categories.
Students who participate in the intervention attend a 3-hour program tailored to their unique situation. Upon finishing the intervention, the student, parents, school representatives, and therapists meet to ensure the lessons have been learned.
So we've had parents say to us, finally someone's working with our child. We had a kid say, you're going to see a whole new me. Now, do all kids change? Of course not. Statistically speaking, the intervention improves the majority of the kids' behaviors.
Preventing bullying isn't just important to us as President and First Lady, it's important for us as parents.
Swearer's work caught the eye of the White House, where she attended a bullying prevention conference. She has even helped Lady Gaga launch her Born This Way Foundation.
The mission of the foundation is to help youth and all individuals, create a kinder, braver world. And if you listen to and read the lyrics of Born This Way, her song, that's the message. You're born to be loved and you deserve to live in a safe, kind world. And after today, you too will all become target bullying intervention specialists.
In the future, Swearer hopes that the Target Bully Intervention Program can serve as a national model to improve the lives of children.
We're really getting that message out there, that this is a mental health problem. Ultimately, we would really like to train, every school counselor, every school psychologist, every school social worker in this intervention, because this intervention is very portable. How do we work with these kids to help them see? Well, there's other ways I can act. I can have goals, I can have dreams, I can have aspirations.
Up next, Nebraska legend Tom Osborne builds teams off the gridiron.
I got up in front of the team. I said, are there any guys here who would be willing to spend some time with a young man from the Lincoln Public Schools?
And an inside look at the innovative engineering that's saving lives.
It's really what our mission and love for this work is to bring safety to the highway and motorsports community.
So often in our society, we tend to be nice to those who can do something for us. And the mark of character, I think, really is what you do for those who cannot do anything for you in return.
In the fall of 1991, Tom Osborne was in the middle of his 19th season as head coach at Nebraska. On a Sunday night, he returned home and found his wife Nancy inspired by a story she was watching on TV.
What caught my attention was this elderly gentleman that was telling a story about going back to his old public school.
The school was PS 121 in Harlem. Eugene Lang, a PS 121 alum turned millionaire, was about to give the commencement address to the 6th grade class.
He sat waiting to go up to the podium and just realized that what he was going to say would mean nothing to this audience. So he said to them, if you'll study hard, keep your grades up, stay out of trouble, and let me mentor you, I will pay for your entire college education. I was just really taken with it because it was such a generous, beautiful thing to do.
So when I came home, she mentioned that episode to me and said, is there anything that we could do? And so the next day in a team meeting, I got up in front of the team and I said, are there any guys here who would be willing to spend some time with a young man from the Lincoln Public Schools? 22 hands went up, and we went to the Lincoln Public Schools and said, we've got 22 guys who are willing to serve as mentors.
Just like that, the Teammates Mentoring Program was born. Since 1991, more than 10,000 kids have been mentored through the Teammates program. In 2012 alone, Teammates mentored 6,000 kids throughout the state of Nebraska and Iowa, with one additional chapter in San Diego, California. Teammates' goal is to serve 10,000 kids per school year by 2015. The motorsports community in the U.S. and around the world thrives on the adrenaline rush of high-speed racing. But for all the excitement involved, danger lurks around every turn.
A race car driver is traveling several hundred times around a track at speeds in excess of 200 miles an hour. You can be rest assured that there's going to be an incident where a driver will lose control on the track and strike the outer containment wall.
When the car goes out of line and runs into a concrete barrier, these impacts could just totally destroy the car and also cause severe injury. It's just a catastrophe for everybody involved.
While the high risk of racing is undeniable, the question is how to make it safer for drivers. Enter the Midwest Roadside Safety Facility at the University of Nebraska, Lincoln, a global leader in the development of roadside safety structures.
Our primary mission is to make highways and racetracks safer. And the way we do that is we design and develop safety features that are mounted either at racetracks or along the highways across the nation.
In the late 1990s, Nebraska researchers were working with the Indy Racing League and Indianapolis Motor Speedway on improving racetrack safety. NASCAR became a full partner in the effort when tragedy struck.
There was a serious string of fatal crashes in the motorsports community. We lost Dale Earnhardt, Kenny Irwin, Adam Penny, and Tony Roper. And all of those fatal crashes involved the errant stock car vehicle striking the rigid outer concrete containment wall.
And those are just devastating crashes because of the speed and the angle they could obtain when they hit the barrier in the turn.
Researchers at the Nebraska facility were asked to create a safety device that would cushion drivers against serious or fatal injuries on the racetrack.
Well, in the early brainstorming sessions, we realized we were going to need some kind of energy absorbing material to be placed behind some kind of impact panel.
Key things are, one, it has to be restorable so that during a race, somebody hits it, it goes back to its original position. Another key thing was it had to reduce the forces felt by the driver. We were thinking 50% reduction in loads into the vehicle, which would drastically reduce injuries to any drivers.
Crash wall prototypes were designed, scrapped, and redesigned. Finally, after extensive testing with real cars and real materials, the research team at Nebraska found the simple design that worked, the safer barrier.
As I tell my students, all good designs are simple. If it's complicated and it's a high-speed impact, it's not going to work. The safer barrier incorporates 8x8-inch steel tubes stacked on top of each other to produce a very stiff impact surface for the vehicle to strike. These blocks absorb the energy of the impact and basically limit the forces delivered to the driver. So when the vehicle strikes the barrier surface, it will deflect backwards toward the concrete, but it remain basically parallel to the track.
In 2002, the first safer barrier wall was installed at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. By 2004, the Indy Racing League and NASCAR had installed the safer barrier wall at more than 30 tracks in the United States and around the world.
The greatest feedback we can get is when we see in a news article or hear on TV in a post-race interview that the driver was happy the wall was in place, and that if it wasn't there, he was concerned of what the outcome would have been. Knowing that the safer barrier has been protecting the drivers, and it's really what our mission and love for this work is to bring safety to the highway and motorsports community.
Professional race car drivers are only a fraction of motorists protected by the technology created at Nebraska. Researchers there have created guardrail systems, cable barriers, and bridge railing systems that border highways far beyond the Cornhusker state.
And our highway safety products, we believe, save on the order of 1,000 lives per year in highway crashes because they've been implemented in every state, nationwide. It's impossible to travel more than a mile or two on any major highway in this country without encountering one of our devices. Our goal is to reduce ran-off road fatalities. Ultimately, we'd like to eliminate them all. We'll never quite get there, but that is where we're headed.
Coming up next, former Cornhusker quarterback Tommy Frazier stops by a very special camp.
And the state of Nebraska has given me and my family a lot, and so the least I can do is give back.
Plus, Tim Miles offers his take on what his players can gain from their time in Lincoln.
I think the important thing for our guys is the perspective of understanding where they fit in this society and what their opportunity and privilege is to be a college student athlete. I'm so impressed with the University of Nebraska, how it's ingrained in not only the community of Lincoln, but the state of Nebraska. And we're not just talking athletics here, we're talking everything from highway safety to whatever it might be, technology. The University of Nebraska is a leader in the country, and it's a place I'm proud to be associated with, and I want to do my part to hold our basketball program to that same standard that's so prevalent, so strong throughout our university.
These are the faces of Camp Kindle. I love our camp population because you can look out and you will see so many different faces. You can't say HIV only affects this. You can see that this disease does not affect one type of person. It can affect anybody.
Eva Payne has crossed paths with the AIDS epidemic at various points in her life. Growing up in Southern California, the news of Magic Johnson testing positive for HIV resonated. And as a theater major at Nebraska, one of the most moving plays she ever read was about a young boy who contracted HIV. Although she wasn't directly impacted by the disease, she made it her mission to help those who were. Eva had a vision to create a place where children who were directly impacted by the disease could come together and just be kids. In 1999, after some research and fundraising, Eva and a small group of volunteers, including her husband Chad, chaperoned a group of 50 campers to a campsite in Nebraska. Camp Kindle was born.
This is the one place where they can do and say the things that they wanted to say and do.
And we just said, there's a need for these kids to have a place where it is, we just put it out there, we're not ashamed of it, we're gonna talk about it.
What began as a week-long recreational camp has evolved into a support system and an escape from the stigmas and challenges many children face living with the disease.
We're not making them sit in a group like they're in a group counseling session and talk about their life. It's just in a very comfortable, non-threatening sort of way.
Camp Kindle is a cost-free endeavor for the campers and serves over 100 children each summer in 2 locations, California and Nebraska.
I know that it's not easy to share your story. It takes a lot of courage to come up in front of your peers and share your story.
HIV first came into my life when my mom first told me she had HIV when I was in 3rd grade.
I didn't really know what it was at first. I contracted it from my mother, from my birth mother through birth.
Sometimes I try to keep it a secret.
The programming at Camp Kindle is tailored to fit the needs of the campers. And through programs such as Speak Out, the campers are encouraged to express themselves and feel empowered to make a difference in their communities.
The role Project Camp Kindle plays in my life is encouraging me to speak out against stigma at home.
One thing I want you to know is that HIV is not the death sentence it used to be, and that no matter who you are and no matter what you do, you don't deserve to be hurt in any way or stigmatized.
We hope we're kindling that spark in them to get out there and advocate.
For Holly Boyle, who learned of her mother's illness at a young age, and many other campers, Camp Kindle is a second home, a place of acceptance and a place where they come to terms with the disease.
Camp Kindle to me is my second family. They've supported me in the hardest of times, gave me self-esteem, gave me the courage to, not be afraid to speak my mind and to stand up for what I believe in.
Nebraska alum Eva Payne appreciates the support of the Cornhusker community. So when one of her former classmates wanted to learn more about Camp Kindle and show his support for the cause, she welcomed him with open arms.
This is Tommy Frazier. Tommy Frazier went to college at the University of Nebraska the same time that I did, and he helped bring the Cornhuskers to 2 national championships. He's one of the very best college quarterbacks there's ever been. He's gonna play some football with you guys.
No, let's try to.
It's really awesome having Tommy here. I mean, of course, being a Husker and coming in '94, I mean, he was Husker football.
Tommy Frazier off to the races, 20.
So to be able to have him here and having him see what we're all about, and I mean, we've been doing this for 14 years, so to be able to say, look what's in your community, there's something you didn't know about, being able to open his eyes to that.
1, 2, 3, get
Growing up, my granddad always told me, the one thing you can do is give back to people who's giving you a lot. And the state of Nebraska has given me and my family a lot. And so the least I can do is give back.
Get it off your chest. Talk about it. Because you can't do everything by yourself. There's nothing wrong with asking for help.
When you see kids at a young age with a whole life to live and going through what they're going through and their spirits are up, it makes me want to tear up a little bit. So if there's a way that I can help them have an opportunity to live life longer, then I'm going to do it because they're supposed to be here when I'm gone.
Thanks to advances in medicine, those directly infected by the disease can now live a long and healthy life. But a stigma remains attached to the illness. For Eva Payne, the cure is education. As long as there is a need, she will continue to teach.
She has been able to create love amongst us. She's truly a blessing to have in my life.
Whether it's the hundreds of kids at camp each summer, or the thousands of kids that are reaching through our Speak Out program, or the visions of where this organization can go, I mean, I'm excited.
For more information on BTN LiveBig Nebraska, go to btnlivebig.com.